The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
To the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world on the Mutual Broadcast Network and on the all-new IPBN Radio Network. If you'd like to send an email, I love getting your emails, even though sometimes the tinfoil, I think, is bound a little bit too tight on your old noggins. Studio at xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And our website, www.xzoneradio.com. Now, don't forget, X-Zone Nation, we are here Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern. Then, my friend Jeremy Scott follows me on his show, Dark 30, right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. And for all the programming information that you will need to enjoy the Mutual Broadcast Network, the website is www.mutualbroadcast.com. X-Zone Nation, I've been talking in the past couple of days about a book a friend of mine has written. David Campione is his name. And this is the gentleman who wrote this on the back cover of his book. In 2014, scientists discovered a way to harness sun energy into a vacuum box. Their theory is to learn how to apply this energy to a spacecraft. They would be able to achieve speeds up to 660 million miles per hour. Now, just think of the possibilities of our solar system travels and well beyond. Unfortunately, these scientists say it will be about 100 years before it can actually happen. This little phrase at the end cracks me up. Lunch or Jupiter? Joining me now from Florida, where it is mighty hot today, is our good friend David Campione. And if you'd like to get a copy of his book, find out more about David, his website is spacioussky.com. And David, welcome back to the X-Zone. Always great having you here, my friend.
Great. Thanks, Rob, for having me. I appreciate it.
David, you and I were talking before we went on air, and you were saying that today on your shed is a thermometer, and it actually reached 135 degrees.
Yeah, I've never seen it that high. I've seen it 110, 120 in the sun, and I was out cutting a tree, and I couldn't imagine why I just didn't have any energy, and it was so hot, and humidity was up. Humidity was low. It's probably 70%. That's low for us. And I walked over. I said I can't work anymore. And I saw 135. That can't be. I've never seen it that. Never. And I've been living down here almost 30 years, and I've never seen it that high.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's hot. It's psychologically, it's hot too.
I would imagine so, David. I truly imagine so.
Yeah.
Listen, you're in Florida. About 2 weeks ago, there was the horrific events that happened in Orlando.
Yes.
How is that affecting where you live in Florida?
Well, where I live, it doesn't affect me at all. I have I live in an area that's pretty protected, woods. If anybody wants to come through the woods, they have to deal with rattlesnakes, coral snakes, panthers. There might be some bear there, and
my God,
maybe the hawks will get you. There's coyotes, so it's a pretty protected area naturally. If you want to deal with that,
it almost sounds like going down the streets of Washington.
Yeah, that's. I haven't really noticed any problems in the area at all, Rob. And I go into the Gainesville, the town of Gainesville. I know a lot of people there. and I shop locally in the little shops, and also near where I live, and it's business as usual. But the area that I live in, I would say, I mean, I don't know, but I would say that, let's say, 99.9% of the people in their cars are armed.
My God.
Well, they're big hunt. It's a big hunting area down here. And
I guess if you've got all those critters in the woods, that's self-preservation and protection. Hey, listen, David, you and I have to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, I want to talk to you about your book.
Okay.
UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual. Over 50 UFO spacecraft illustrations, various sighting reports, and experiences by David Campione, our guest this hour here in the X Zone. After all, this is truly a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, and David and I will return on the other side of this break talking about his book. We're going to tell you how to get his book, but for more information, www.spacioussky.com. And David's got some great news to tell us about some high-res photography that's going to be available pretty soon. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. Don't go away. Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote. Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-605-6818. That's 800-605-6818. 800-605-6818.
David Campione is my special guest, X Zone Nation. By the way, that was not a UFO on that last soundtrack. That was just a soundtrack. David, have you ever heard a UFO?
No, I never heard any sounds from the 13 that I've seen. I've never heard any sound at all come from. So I don't know what they would even sound like, but I cannot comment on it.
David, let's talk about your book, because there are very few, if any, others that I have ever read that are actual UFO spacecraft identification manuals. And you published this. You've got a lot of experience within the UFO community. You are well respected within the community. Why did you decide to come out with this book?
Well, my dad put together a manual back in, I guess in the early 1970s, and put a UFO manual out. And I never was really that much into him, what he was doing, because of course I had to work, and when he started losing his eyesight, and I would just take him to do his lectures. He could still give his lectures. And he put this manual together when he got down to 10% vision in one eye, and not this manual, but his manual. And And I never really looked at it. It was like years later, and I looked at it, and I said, what the heck is this? What did he do here? And it was such a disaster. And he would give it to airline pilots, and they probably thought, oh, if he tried that today with that manual, he'd probably they'd have to land the plane and lock him up. I mean, it was so bad the way it was worded, and the grammar and the lack of everything. So I just decided to come out with something, because there's nothing out there. Just like you said, there's a lot of charlatans in this business, and people said, oh, well, and I'm still waiting to see a good flying saucer photo during the day, like it's in my book, and plus in my future book, and what's going to be published there. Yeah.
Why do you
decided to do that, to bring it out and give information? And the area that I grew up in, where most of these sightings are in the book, was the most sightings in the whole world. Can you imagine that? The whole world, right in the Delaware Valley, Philadelphia, southern New Jersey, the whole world.
David, why do you think that there has not been that all-conclusive photograph yet, with all the advances in photographic technology? Every cell phone has a high definition camera on it. There are webcams all over the place. Police cars have webcams. Even John Q. Public now is putting a webcam in their car. And yet that all conclusive photo still has not been taken. Why not?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it has, and they get shut down, and they're not allowed to publish it if it's in the government. Knowing when I worked years ago as a forensic photographer for a prosecutor's office in New Jersey, there was an incident in Glassboro, New Jersey, where a craft had landed, and these two college kids got blamed for a prank of spreading radioactive isotopes all over the place. Well, come on.
Yeah. Where
would they get that? Anyway, this whole thing was publicized. The guys went to court. The thing was dismissed, the two college students. And it was years later when I was working in that same area, and I asked one of the local detectives who was on the job at the time as a police officer. I said, what the heck happened there? He said, well, they had to shut it up because they didn't want to panic the people.
Now, isn't that also the case where, let me see if my memory serves me correct, somebody was using a Geiger counter at the site of the alleged hoax, and it actually displayed a very, very high level?
Yeah, my dad did that twice in two different sightings, one not far from his house, and then this one in Glassboro, New Jersey. Yeah, there was still... Well, he said that 3 inches of the earth were removed. But there was still some radioactivity there, yeah. And they were military people who came in. Of course, it wasn't too far, maybe a couple hours from the Fort Dix and McGuire Air Force Base facilities in New Jersey, the big base, the big, huge military bases. And they were the ones who came down, military trucks and military looking uniforms with no insignias on them, and scooped up the whole area about 3 inches down, but there was still radiation recordings taken from that my dad had taken with his Geiger counter.
What I noticed in your book as well is that you make a lot of references to biblical chapters and verses. You mentioned Exodus 13:21, a pillar of a cloud and pillar of fire. Ezekiel 1:16, the appearance of wheels that were of color of beryllium, which is aluminum, right?
Yeah, they didn't know what aluminum was, so that was what they used, that word.
So,
interesting.
What do you think the significance of these verses and other verses that you have included in your book, the UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual, are?
Well, I actually think that they're that these people in the book these are taking excerpts from the Bible, that they actually saw these craft, and somebody going up in a pillar and a cloud up into a craft, and just, I mean, it's just the let's say the awesomeness of seeing something like this. Can you imagine seeing an aluminum or beryllium spacecraft hovering above, and then somebody gets sucked up and goes up into this craft, and these people wrote about it, and then it was put into or spoke about it, wrote about it, and then it got included into the Bible in various forms, or in different sections of the Bible. And also the other thing that a lot of people, Moses gets a lot of credit for parting the Red Sea. This might not go too well, but I mean, the information, I'll say what my dad always said. He had information from people who told him this. Now, he didn't have any personal information, but he was just told this, that the whole time the Israelites were going for 40 years, the big mothership was supplying them with manna to eat, and they were the ones who parted the Red Sea so they could go across and escape. I mean, That's not in the Bible, though, so that's something different. But they had to eat. I mean, where do you eat in the desert? Have you ever been in the desert, Rob?
Well, I've been in the desert going through Nevada. That's been the extent of my desert travels, and I was smart enough to bring a cooler with me that had sandwiches and pop. Mind you, I did not see anybody, riding a camel, and I certainly didn't see anybody trying to divide the sea because there is no sea there. Right. And as hard as I looked, my friend, I did not see a UFO.
See, you got to keep looking up. You got to stop, though. See, you got to stop, and you got to get into a certain area out there because we called. You can call them in if you do it right. The one that I saw in the late '80s out south of Nevada, south of Las Vegas, south of the Nevada border, not far. I actually thought it was a. Oh my God! Let's see. We were driving probably 90 miles an hour at the time. I wasn't driving.
I saw how fast you threw that in. That you weren't driving at the time.
And I looked off to the west, and there's all these foothills. Well, you see them, and they go right up to the mountains. They have these foothills, and I saw this thing. I thought, oh my God, there's a plane crashing. But I thought, well, there's no wings on it, and it's black, and it's got a tail, and it's completely black. It looked like a huge. Total fuselage, and it just looked like a regular huge commercial airliner with a tail, but no tail wings and no fuselage wings. And I told my wife, I said, my God, look at this. We got to go investigate this. There's this huge craft out there, or something's crashing. So Rob, now when we were driving and we found a road to cut off on, I won't say what it is, it's probably blocked by now because I think I said it before, but anyway, it was 4.5 miles from where we were to that section in the foothills, through the dirt roads to get back to that area because we timed it going back. And the plane, this craft looked the size of a commercial airliner from 4.5 miles away. So I can't imagine. It had to have been at least a mile long or bigger. This huge craft that was sitting there. It was just hovering. It wasn't moving. It was just sitting there.
Did you take a picture?
No, I didn't have because it disappeared.
I see.
It was there and then it disappeared and then we parked the car because it got so bad. We had a rental car, and we got into this dry river bed, and we got out and we started walking. We got up to the hill, or top of one of the foothills, and we're looking around, and way off in the distance, way off in the west from where we were, it had to have been, 5 or 10 miles away. It seems like there were these cliffs, and on the side of the cliff was this, like somebody went up there with a laser and cut a rectangle out of it. And then on the other side, which would have been probably another 10 or 8 miles to the east, way up on top of a hill, it looked like a gigantic traffic light with the red, yellow, and green, and the lights were like the size of basketballs from where we were.
Wow.
Miles away, so
now
you don't know.
The next day or during that day, were there any news reports about what you had seen, or was this in such a secluded part of the desert that you and your wife, by the way, I figured out she was the one who was driving at 90 miles an hour,
yes.
Were the only two people to see it?
Probably, yeah. As far as I know, in fact, if I remember, my memory comes back, there weren't any other cars on the road at the time. And,
good thing.
Driving back on that dirt road, we didn't see anybody. I mean, there was way back 5 miles back, because we cut off the road, turned, was like a power station where the power company would work on these little power stations, and that was always been. There wasn't anybody back in there. Yeah.
Well, at least there were no state troopers out there.
No, they weren't around. They were probably dealing with the people in Vegas all the time.
Yeah, I could just hear this trooper, if your wife would have been caught on radar. Hi, can I see your driver's license, your pilot license, and where were you going to land?
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, yeah, it was funny. We were talking about the desert. I had in the 60s, I had some special survival training in the desert before going over to Vietnam to the war.
All right, what we're going to do is we're going to have a little bit of a cliffhanger here, my friend, because we've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour for the Mutual Broadcast News. David Campione is my guest, www.spacioussky.com, and we'll both be back on the other side as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Mutual Broadcast News, I'm Leo Ashcraft. Indiana child welfare officials have warned an organization that installed 2 baby boxes at firehouses where mothers can drop off unwanted newborns anonymously to remove them, saying they question their safety and whether women who use them could face child abandonment charges. 6 hospitals in Arizona have installed drawers in their emergency rooms that allow women to drop off infants anonymously, although state law neither authorizes nor prohibits them. Nearly 2 months after a woman was found severely burned on the Crow Indian Reservation, the tribe is still seeking information about the case from federal investigators. The victim was found on April 17th in a field near the border between the Northern Cheyenne and Crow Reservation with burns over most of her body. Doctors told the woman's family she had walked about 3 miles before collapsing. Reservation residents believe the woman was set on fire. Mutual Broadcast News. Depend on it.
Nita Hickok is an expert in exorcisms, psychic warfare, soul healing, angelology, soul retrieval, demonology, energy healing, long-distance healing, astral healing, and much more. Nita is an interfaith minister because she believes all gods and goddesses are valid and that they are part of one divine force that is incomprehensible to us who are incarnated upon this earth. Nita has been doing astral healing, distant healing, spirit release, exorcism, house cleansing and blessings, soul restoring and revival, psychic vampire removal and curse removal, and much more for over 40 years. For more information or to contact Nita Hickok, visit her website at www.astralhealer.com. That's www.astralhealer.com.
Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, on the X Zone TV show, coming soon to screens of all sizes. On the X Zone TV show, we'll investigate UFOs, ghosts, alien abductions, demonic possession, psychic phenomenon, angels, lake monsters, Bigfoot, unsolved mysteries, and all subject matter from within the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, and much, much more. The X Zone TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, www.xzonetv.com, is a Relmar McConnell media company and Airplay Media production.
I'm William S. Peckham. If you enjoy a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love my novel, From Out of the Woodwork. It's the story of a young Toronto contractor, Sean Kennedy, who buys derelict homes, guts them, and turns them into multifamily dwellings. Slum's just waiting to happen. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, the house fights back. Former owners unexpectedly come out of the woodwork as he starts the destruction. The apparitions come to him when he touches old books, reads hidden letters, rummages through old boxes, finds a locket, or reads a discovered manuscript of a murder mystery. From Out of the Woodwork will take you from 1899 to the horror of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Check out From Out of the Woodwork on my website, www.williamspeckham.com.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited.
They do not give up until you pay.
They put a lien on my house.
How about you? Do you owe back taxes? Call Tax Solutions now and get some help. For a limited time, the IRS offers a tax forgiveness program called the Fresh Start Initiative. Our team can make it easier for you to pay back taxes, avoid tax liens, and get a fresh start. Sometimes you just need a second chance.
I call Tax Solutions now, and they got the IRS off my back.
At Tax Solutions Now, our affiliates are all accredited by the Better Business Bureau and members of the National Association of Tax Professionals.
We saved our home and overcame the most powerful collection agency in the world.
Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now. Call 800-729-3321. 800-729-3321. 800-729-3321. 800-729-3321.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. David Campione is my special guest this hour, and we're talking to David about his book entitled How to Contact a UFO Spacecraft for Information and Knowledge. It's called the UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual, www.spacioussky.com. Now, David, you and I were talking before we went on air about something amazing that you're going to be doing in the future with some of the photos that you have in your slideshow presentation.
Yeah, the video that I produced years ago, of course, they had to convert it to DVD when that came out, and uploaded it, to the net for worldwide distribution through Amazon. Something happened. I've been told they compressed everything, and it's not. It's just so. I'm very disappointed in it, and so instead of redoing the whole thing, I thought it'd be easier and quicker just to throw a little book together and put. I think I have about 14 color photos I'm going to put in there, and some. I had a friend, not a friend, but a photo lab. A guy who's been doing work for me for 25 years. He went and did high resolution copying to a disc for me so I can zoom in on these craft, and also I'll do hopefully a regular photograph. These are from Mr. Paul Villa's collection. A regular photograph of what he took of or published in it, and then I can also zoom in on the craft itself. And then one of the particular craft, and I'm not privy to where these people were from or where this craft came from, but when Mr. Villa was asked to go out there to take pictures of him, he was always contacted and hear a voice in his head, and he would go out and meet these spacecraft, take his camera out with him, and but one of them couldn't come too close, they told him, because it was there was so much turbulence under this particular craft, and he was told it was 360 feet in diameter, and when you see it in the slide, right, it's even on the video, I think, when you're able to zoom in, you can see the fire that it created underneath the craft, and the trees are bending, and Mr. Villa took a photograph of it, and he took a couple pictures, but he missed a photograph where they shot a light beam down, a white beam of light went down and extinguished the fire. And they said, okay, now that that's out, he's hearing all this in his voice. He's in his head, he's being told what they were doing. He said, now we're going to move off to an area where we won't harm the planet. And that came from Mr. Villa, and this is what he was told. So I hope to be able to zoom in on that and show that particular segment in that slide. Besides the maybe I'll do a couple variations as I zoom up to that one particular spot so people can see it. It's pretty interesting. And I thought, wow, this is what we need for these wildfires. All we need is a UFO and a beam of light, and all these fires that could be extinguished in no time.
Yeah, we could use UFO, United Fire Outfit.
Fire rescue, something. Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't it be great?
Yeah, I think it would be super. Now, David, who was Mr. Villa? What do you know about him?
Well, the only that I know about him, I believe he came here from Mexico and became a United States citizen. That's my understanding of it. I can't verify it, but that's my understanding of it.
Don't tell Donald Trump that.
Oh, yeah, he's long gone. Mr. Villa's long gone.
Good for him.
But he left a great legacy as far as I'm concerned. And he was an auto mechanic. I don't know if I'm going to, I think I have one photograph that shows the environment that he lived in outside of Albuquerque or near Albuquerque, New Mexico, where he did his auto repair or vehicle repairs. He didn't have money. He worked he was a Catholic, very staunch Christian, God-fearing man, and he had a little money, and he bought a camera that he took these spacecraft photos of with, and it's called a Ricoh, and it was I always thought it was the only one that I was familiar with at the time, even though my background is in photography. I was only familiar with a larger format, but he had a 35 millimeter. This is film cameras, and he always shot in color negative. And that's what he used, but the interesting thing is now his photographs of this particular craft from Como Bernices, where he actually met the occupants. We never could. My dad and I, we both tried. My dad tried anyway because he had corresponded with my father. Now he was literate enough to write letters, and him and my father or type them. I never saw any writings from Mr. Villa, but they corresponded for 8 years, and the people from Como Bernices told Mr. Villa. He said now you can imagine this thing coming, a spacecraft coming from 450 million light years in the Como Bernices spiral galaxy, like our Milky Way spiral galaxy, and they say to this man, this auto mechanic, that they're going to allow him to take pictures of them and of the craft and of them, that the only person that you can trust is Michael Campione in New Jersey. Now, that's my dad. Now, I mean, what are the odds of that, Rob? It's just
I don't
astronomical. And that's how I don't know how he got a hold of my dad. I think I was working in New York at the time, so I really don't know the full connection on how it happened. But he actually had the photographs of the 5 men and the 4 women between 7 and 9 feet tall, the beings who landed there, or didn't land it, but they hovered the craft above the ground from Como Bernices, and they told him, you cannot release the pictures of us until we tell you. Well, when he passed on, his wife burned the negatives, and we never we never saw him. I never saw the pictures, and neither did my dad. So, but that's what I know about Mr. Villa. He had something going with him. I'm going for him. I know that.
Is there a connection between Mr. Villa and what Billy Meyer in Switzerland has been talking about?
Well, I don't think so, because Mr. Myers, he said, I believe he's a connection with the Pleiades people, and there's some kind of agenda for the whole planet and what people should be doing, where none of that, to my knowledge, ever came out of from Mr. Villa, that he was told anything about that, other than the spacecraft that was there didn't want to harm the planet. But in the book, in the back, I hope you have a picture of it with the craft on its side with the clouds. I don't know if you have that. I hope it's in your book. There's a reclining Indian with a feather in it. The photograph, and now this was a different set of alien visitors, extraterrestrial visitors, not the Como Berenices and not the other one I was talking about with the fire suppressor. This was another craft. Mr. Villa said this one was 300 feet in diameter. And when he went out after he was contacted, they told him where to go to the desert, and he was out there, and this. He said it was 300 feet in diameter, this craft. And you actually see the bottom of the craft. And he said, Mr. Villa said, two small monitoring craft, small craft, maybe a couple feet in diameter, 3 feet, shot out of this craft or came out of this craft and went up into the clouds. And he had no idea what was going on, but he heard the voice and said, "Take your photograph now." And he took his picture the two little craft came back and went back into the 300-foot disc that was right in front of Mr. Villa.
The photo is on page 94.
Okay, and there's the Indian in the clouds, and he's got that picture. And then there's a sequence of photos which aren't in there, which I don't know if I'm going to put in the book, but it shows that this dissipate. You know how clouds disappear. But right at that precise moment when they told him to take the picture, he got the picture of that Indian laying in the clouds that they sculpted in the clouds.
Well, it says the spacecraft in this photograph is 300 feet in diameter and was photographed by Paul Villa, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Mr. Villa has photographed over 40 clear, sharp, detailed color photographs of spacecraft from various places in the universe. Notice the reclining Indian in the clouds. Now, now I see it. It looks like looks like there's one feather that is kind of sticking.
Yeah, he's not a chief. These people come up with all these chief things. These guys are real Indians. Not everybody. How many chiefs are there?
Well, it all depends on who you ask. I know there are some houses where there's so many chiefs and not enough Indians.
That's right. This guy's a real Indian. That's
exactly.
There.
So you only had one feather.
Yeah. Well, Paul, my dad always said that this particular race of extraterrestrials that were there had mentioned to Paul there was something that they really liked the Native Americans because they were like they were supposed to have been the keepers of the planet at one time of the natural environment of the planet the way it is. And of course, it's changed, so I don't know what that meant, but there's still the significance between this particular race who visited and the Native Americans.
Why do you think there are so many different alien species visiting the planet? Wouldn't it be more politically correct if they nominated one group to be the emissary for everyone else?
Well, I think we see Star Trek too much,
Okay.
So there's too much of that going around and all. I don't know. Well, the Como Berenices people, look, they're from in a whole different galaxy. And here you got Mr. Billy Meyer stuff, and they're from the Palladian structure. So, maybe, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I've never been told why that there's not only one spokesperson, but we don't know that either.
That's true. We don't.
We really don't. The way they cover this stuff up, we have no idea what they have. I was going through a box the other day, and I have I was looking for some for a master videotape, and there was a book in there in this box, and it's from the NICAP organization from 1964, and I gotta brush up on that. Now they gave out good information back in those days in the 60s. I don't know what's happened recently.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think that the internet and all the television shows on UFOs, extraterrestrials, my goodness, on June 24th, the new Independence Day movie Resurgence is coming out. Do you think that all this media attention is actually an asset or a hindrance when it comes to true UFO investigations?
I think it's a hindrance. I honestly do think it's a hindrance because, let's see, about 15 years ago, a friend of mine in North Carolina used to send me, oh, you got to see this video, you got to look, and I would go look, and he said, this great spacecraft. Well, it looked like it was a Millennium Falcon from Star Wars that they somehow, good computer people are amazing what they can do. I mean, as we see in the movies. So I just think it's a hindrance because they don't, they won't put out the real information out there. And there's people, I got an email from somebody just a couple days ago, and he said, oh yeah, you got to see this UFO that I videotaped. And I sat there and there was nothing. It was a blank screen. It was like my laptop that I'm looking at, and I'm thinking, what is he talking about? I had to slow it down to stop practically to see these dots. Well, that doesn't do anything. I want to see something real up close, and definitely not government, which I would almost know that it wasn't controlled by any government on this planet at the time, presently. Because I don't think we have the capabilities. I honestly don't.
Well, then let me ask you this question. Why do you think the governments of the world are suppressing the information about UFOs and ETs if, in fact, they do have the information?
Yeah, I just think that this way they can keep control of everybody. Well, look what would happen. Just think if you made contact and they gave you let's say a manual on how to make a motor scooter that was built that you could build and market like the little scooters that all this people in practically half the world uses, and make it out of where there's no petroleum, it's non-petroleum based, and it's strictly electromagnetic or anti-grav, and you can drive and go anywhere you want without any gasoline. So what would that do to the whole corporation structures? It would shut them down.
It would shut them down, but let me just play the devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
If we were to go to an alternative energy, like electromagnetic, and there was an EMP pulse that was discharged, what would happen?
It wouldn't affect it. It wouldn't touch it.
Why not?
Well, I mean, I don't know the physics behind it, but I don't believe that it has the capabilities to knock something like that, because you don't get it from the air. I mean, it's just all around you. The energy is there. I mean, unless it was a direct hit, now that might be something different. I don't know. I can't say I experimented with something like that, or we probably wouldn't be talking to each other right now.
Once again, on the back of your book, you're talking about harness the sun energy into a vacuum box. Their theory is to learn how to apply this energy to a spacecraft. They would be able to achieve speeds up to 660 million miles per hour.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
But just think of these spacecraft who travel by thought, who could be 100 million light years away and go, oh, let's go down and check Earth out, and this is how they program it in, and they're there in seconds or minutes.
But why would they want to check us out if they're that advanced?
Watching us make sure we don't blow ourselves up. That's a strong possibility. I mean, there's always been wars and rumors of wars for eons, and they, all it takes is one government that just says, well, it's time to end everything and just shut everybody down.
Okay, if in fact the button was pushed, nuclear launches have commenced, what do you think these ETs would do?
Interfere. They have to interfere. They are given the right to interfere because of the. Now, other people have called it a different name, but I've always known it as a planet called Maldek between our planet and our solar system, Uranus and Neptune. That they were similar to what we have here, only probably more warlike, and they happened to destroy the planet, blew it up, and there's a huge debris field out there that NASA found probably 25 years ago, or whenever they sent one of these satellites by, heading out towards Pluto. And there's this massive asteroid belt just sitting there, and that's what I was always been under the impression that that's from the planet that they blew up. Same kind of people we have here now.
All right, stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exo Nation, David Campione is our special guest. The name of his book that we've been talking about this hour is the UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual. His website is www.spacioussky.com. And David and I will return on the other side of this break as we continue right here live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Introducing Just Like Sugar. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural zero-calorie sweetener alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great pure sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be used in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar enhanced composition is a source of natural dietary fiber obtained from the chicory root. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend chicory maltodextrin, pure balanced extract, chicory root dietary fiber, and all the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is now available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
Did you ever look at the stains in your coffee cup and then realize that's exactly what happens to your teeth? Paraswabs is the 5-minute solution to get your teeth white without visiting the dentist. This is John Greenhut, the CEO of Paraswabs. And if your teeth are stained from coffee, tea, or smoking, all it takes is 5 minutes with Paraswabs. In 5 minutes, you'll see an average of 2 shades whiter teeth, and in 7 days, 6 shades. It's clinically proven to whiten natural teeth as well as caps and veneers. The secret is a tooth detergent that lifts stains off of your teeth. Best of all, there's no messy strips or trays that you have to leave in your mouth for an hour. Just swab your teeth for 5 minutes and you're done. To try Paraswabs risk-free, call 1-800-906-0783. That's 1-800-906-0783. I guarantee your bright white smile will have your friends, family, and coworkers talking about how great you look. Try it risk-free today. 1-800-906-0783. That's 1-800-906-0783.
Welcome back, everyone. David Campione is our special guest now. Exo Nation, if you'd like to get a copy of David's book entitled, you've been saying it, and I've been saying it, David, but the name of the book is UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual. It's available at Amazon.com. And for more information on David, his website is spacioussky.com. David, taking the theory that the governments of the world have information that prove the existence of extraterrestrials and alien spacecraft, isn't it a little redundant for them to deny it with all the sightings that have been made around the world?
Yeah, I actually believe that also. What you just said, Rob. Why they won't?
Yeah.
put it out. Now you have who was the guy who was your finance minister in Canada who's been running around the world?
Oh, yeah, that's Paul Hillier, the former Minister of Defense and the former Deputy Prime Minister of Canada.
Oh, sorry, I misspoke. I'm sorry. I apologize, sir.
It's okay, no problem.
But, here's a guy, and they're trying to shut him up. If they did maybe they have shut him up. I read they were trying to tell him to stop talking about these crafts.
Well, here's the reason why. See, Paul Hillier has never said that he actually saw one. He never said that while in office as the Minister of Defense that any information crossed his desk pertaining to UFOs, sightings of UFOs. It was only after he retired, and I guess he wanted to get back in the public eye, that he started this entire UFO thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now, I received a call from the Ministry of Defense here in Canada after I had Paul Hillier on the show, and they asked me for all the information and any recordings that we had of him on the show. So you know what I did? I said, here you go.
That's scary stuff, isn't it?
No, I don't think so, because I've listened to his talks.
Yeah.
And I don't give him an ounce of credibility.
Yeah, that's why I misspoke. I didn't know. I thought he was more privy into the Canadian government, having information on that, and this was how he would bring it to light when he retired.
Well, you would think, as the Minister of Defense for the entire country, and then being the Deputy Prime Minister under Pierre Elliott Trudeau, that he would have some groundbreaking information. Nope.
But it's interesting that the question that you had asked me, why don't they talk about it? Well, here's a man who was out talking about it, and they want to shut him up. So there's some underlying motivation there, and I still think it's all about the economy or money. That's my personal opinion of it. Yeah, it's oil. Yeah. It's oil, gas.
It's something. It's something. Yeah. Hey, David, you and I have to say so long for tonight. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you. I wish you continued success. And once again, Exonation, if you'd like to get a copy of David's book entitled UFO Spacecraft Identification Manual, all you must do is do something very simple. Go to Amazon.com and visit his website, www.spaciousguy.com. David, take care of yourself, my friend, and don't work too hard cutting those trees in the heat.
No, I won't, Rob. Hey, appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great evening.
You too, my friend. Exonation, when we come back on the other side of the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour, my guest is Douglas DeLong, and we're going to be talking to Douglas from Saskatchewan, where he runs the Ancient Mystery School. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, and we'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.